In this lesson, we're going to start to talk about grid lines or grids. Very big fan of grid lines. I use them in everything I do, including residential stuff. So I'm going to again use the structural template to start off. We should always get our levels in before we start to draw grids. Quite often we go in and we start to draw grid lines, and then you draw your level lines after or whatever. The problem with that is that the grid lines will only extend vertically from the lowest level to the top level. So if you're going to make grid lines, you should do your levels first. So let's go to, say, a south elevation. Let's make a few more levels because it's going to be a higher building. So I'm going to go level. Talked extensively about levels. They're such a wonderful tool. They're very basic, but yet they do control so much of our project. Once again, I'm making floor plans as I move along. So there's my 6 levels, and maybe I have a, foundation level over here, top of pile cap or underside of grade beam or something. Escape, escape. So there's my levels, and I can go in and rename them and move them and nudge them around and change these numbers and, round them off, and they'll change and all that stuff. So now when I go back to make a grid line, it's going to physically extend from top to bottom. So we have all of our level lines in here. Grids will transcend from floor plan to floor plan. So it actually doesn't matter which one. I can go to the level 4, okay, and I can start to draw grid lines. So I'm going to use grid line. Now what we're starting to draw more now. So start paying attention to what's going on up over here and always along the options bar. Okay, this is the quick access toolbar. This is static. This doesn't change. But the draw tools will change depending on what it is you're drawing, and most definitely your options bar. This is a plan offset, not a vertical offset, by the way. So I'm going to draw by just sketching a line. So I'm going to say, okay, draw a grid line. So I'm going to pick and then go. As you draw, you hold your shift key in, will make it straight. That's like an ortho. So you can go diagonally and you can read your numbers and adjust. If you don't get it right the first time, you can always come back and click on it and change that 90 degrees. So I'm going to click up. By default, it starts with a 1. So I'm going to pick in here. Pick, and I wanted that to be an A. So while I'm still in my grid tool, believe it or not, I can pick right in that bubble, and I can make this a capital A and hit enter. Now I'm going to start. Notice it aligns it, gives me nice numbers. Pick and go up, and Revit's smart enough. I'm going to use my shift key to keep it straight and click, and Revit's smart enough to make this a B. So I can pick on here, pick in here, pick in here, and I can call this, CX, and then hit an enter. Okay, and if I pick on here, guess what it's going to do? Pick on here, it's going to go to D. Okay, pick on here, up I go, E. Very good. Now I'm going to go across this way. Notice I'm staying kind of in the middle here. Pick over here, go to the left. Again, use your shift key to keep it nice and straight. Click. And then I'm going to pick on here right inside while I'm doing it, and I'm going to make this a 1. And then hit enter. Now, if I go to this direction, it'll turn the bubble on that end. So I'm just going to go across here. It's really nice and easy to keep things straight in Revit. Okay, structural stuff loves grid lines. It loves grid intersections. Escape, escape. Now I can grab this guy and use my control button to select both of these guys. We'll talk about selecting. Use my arrow key and nudge these around. I might as well slap some dimensions in here. You can get this off modify or off your quick access toolbar. So I'll do one big dimension from there and then wiggle it up and place it. And then I'll do another dimension that goes, from oops. Oh, I missed that completely. So guess what I get to do? I get to hit modify, pick on here, edit witness line, which means edit it. Oh, that was the wrong type of dimension to begin with. Let's try that again. Dimension. I was trying to prove the fact that you can pick them in any order. What is it doing? It's offsetting them. An align dimension, and then pick baseline. I don't want them to be baseline. Hit escape, escape. This is a weird template. Pick on here, change it from arrow baseline. We want just arrow 3mm aerial, pick out. Okay, so I'm going to start my dimension tool again, but this time I'm going to pick in here to make sure I get the dimension type. Text above, pan over, pick, pick, pick. Again, you can pick them in any order. If you pick it again, it takes it off. Okay. If you pick it again and it wasn't picked, it adds it in. Wiggle, wiggle, pick nothing. You can go right back inside. You don't have to start the tool again. Zoom in and place it. So we grab a couple dimensions. Escape, escape. If you go to a 3D view, you're not going to see anything. Levels and grids don't show up in 3D. Okay, unless you're doing conceptual massing family. So now if I go to my level 1, I'm going to see the grid lines. If I go to my level 2, they're going to transcend all the way up, because if I go to a south elevation, there's the grid lines. Now, it looks like I need to pull this guy over a little bit. Okay, but there's my A, B, C, X, D, E, right, from any of these floor plans. And then if I want to look at an east elevation, I can just double click on here. It opens up my east elevation. Then I can see grid lines. Once again, I can slap in some dimensions now that I've reset my dimension tool over there. Okay, I'm just having some fun with it and getting a feel for it. And then place it. To place it, pick nothing. Okay. Now what I can do here really sneaky is if I go back to say my level 4, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this and grab this and this and this, and on the keyboard go Control C, copies that to the clipboard. Okay. Now I'm going to click out to get nothing. Go to Modify, say Paste, paste to selected views. And I'm going to go to Structural Plan 1. See, I'm going to copy and paste those dimensions from 4 to Structural Plan 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. And hit OK. Okay, now if I go to all of these floor plans, I must have missed 5. Okay, let's go to 5, and I can still do it. I can go Paste to the current view. Boom. So level 1, level 2, level 3, they all have the dimensions. So there's my grid lines. Now watch what happens here. If I go to say a south elevation, if I take grid line D and I take the align off and I pull that up to here, grid line D, the 3D point of grid line D, I can make it 2D too, just like a level line. If the 3D line doesn't intersect the level, it won't show up. Okay, level 7 is here. I can double click on the level 7, or I can double click on this bubble. It opens up level 7. Notice grid line D is missing. Okay, because grid line D doesn't intersect level 7 or level 1 for that matter. Okay, or level 2 or level 3. Shows up all of a sudden on level 4 because if I go to my south elevation, it intersects with level 4. So that's why this grid line shows up. And it's the 3D point that counts, not the 2D point. You can have the 3D point here and switch to 2D and fool your partner and then do this. And they say, well, my grid line D crosses my level 1 and my level 2, and then you'll go to your level 2 and you won't see it. You'll go to your level 1 and you won't see it. Then you'll go back to your south elevation and say, I don't get it. It's crossing it. It should show up. And it's because it's the 2D point that's crossing it, not the 3D point. Ta-da! How long do you think it took me to figure that one out? So now if I go to my level 3,